General quarters, all hands man your battle stations.
Broadcasting live on WNN 1470 AM, 95.3 FM, iHeartRadio, and the World Wide Web. This is Make America Think Again with your Google blacklisted host, Tom Trento.
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger. No, Will Robinson. Danger.
All right, buckle up, everybody. Tom Trento, your host here on the 30th of December, 11:03 in the morning. WNN 1470. What a wild show today. Today, tomorrow, and the next day. We got great stuff for you. You ready, Mark?
Ready and going.
Oh, raining outside our studios today in South Florida. I love the rain. I should be home, like taking a nap on a couch. And
I am so over the rain, the wind, and everything. For the last 2 weeks, I've been wanting to put a bolt in my head because of all this rain and wind.
I love it. I love rough weather. I lived in New Jersey. We got cold winters, and then Chicago, very cold winters, and then Denver, Colorado, freezing cold winters. Finally, I said, what am I doing? Half of my life I'm wearing. When you live in Chicago, in the wintertime, the talk every day is the weather. Oh, it's so cold today. My eyes froze. Oh, it's so cold here. And you get into the building. You have 14 layers of clothing. And right now, these people in the Midwest are going through this. You have long underwear and socks and gloves and hoodies and this and that. And then you get into a hot building and you take everything off.
Because you're sweating.
And you're sweating. And then you got to go run outside to get something. You go out.
And then the windows on your cars are frozen.
Everything's frozen. And you got to put the scraper and do all this. And you go, why am I doing this? I'm going to Florida. And that's what happens, basically. So we're here in Florida. We have today, obviously, we're gonna touch on the machete attack, knife attack in New York at the rabbi's house, and a crazy shooting in Fort Worth at the church, which was seen on a live stream. The hero there is Jack one shot, one kill Wilson. I'll tell you a little bit about the shooter that put the killer down very quickly, but not before the killer killed two church members. Unbelievable, with a sawed-off shotgun. Then I got some gender math for you, Mark. I got a problem, and I want everybody to try to. We'll do it a little later. I still can't figure it out. Transgender guy gives birth to a non-binary partner's baby with female sperm donor. Go figure that out. We'll talk about it in a little bit. This is the New America. In the New America, we have President Obama nearing the $100 million mark. The guy's almost worth $100 million. The
really?
Guy that is, for the common man. He's the elite of the elite, and you don't hear a word on the left going, what is he doing? He's got to give that money away. It's almost worth $100 million.
But there's nothing illegal or shady in that, Tom. Come on, it's King Obama.
He's 2 years out of 3 years out of the presidency.
It's Prince Obama, man.
If he follows in the money track of the Clintons, by the time he's their age, in the 70s, he's 58?
Oh, he'll be a billionaire.
He will be worth $300-400 million. This is a guy that says, we have to make sure that everyone has an equal share of all his presidency. What a con artist he is. And look, we're not going to get to all of this today. Some of this is for tomorrow. I got some great arguments. Have you run into a situation, whether it was Christmas Eve or one of the 47 days of Hanukkah? How many days of Hanukkah are there?
I think they're like 52.
52 days of Hanukkah. You got to love our Jewish brothers and sisters. When they party, they know how to party. They don't go, 1 or 2 days. They go, let's have 8 days, 8 days of partying. I think today is the 8th day. But certainly, particularly for pro-Trump conservatives, I think we're in the majority, but at dinner table with our leftist family members and friends, it can get a little tight. It can get a little aggravated. It can get a little tense. Well, I will lay out specific ways to argue with your idiot relatives and smash them to pieces. That's what you want to do at dinner. You want to smash your relatives and friends into intellectual pieces. We'll give you some great arguments to do that. It's like equipping you with a weapon. You have to determine how much of the weapon you want to use for the particular situation. But we'll equip you with the capability to argue with the snowflakes. That's for sure. Now we got a very big developing situation in Iraq, where the U.S. Military hit some Hezbollah militia in Iraq. What's that all about? We'll explain. But this has the potential, particularly within the last 3 hours. Right now it's 11:08 in the morning on December 30th, around 9 o'clock this morning. Iran weighed in and said, okay, there's going to be consequences, United States. And they are not to be underestimated. They're a very, very dangerous enemy country. I'll explain what's going on in Iran and Iraq. And then we got a very interesting retweet, RT, if you ever see RT in the tweets, a retweet by the president about who?
Laura Loomer.
About our friend Laura Loomer. The president retweeted a very positive tweet about Laura, and on the original tweet it had "please send money to Laura." So the president retweeted. Now this is a developing story. At first we said,
is this a? There's no way that Trump would retweet her.
You know, Laura's very controversial, though ironically, if she wins and beats Lois Frankel in the 21st Congressional District of Florida, which includes the village of Palm Beach. Did you know that? It's not called a town. It's not called a city. It's the village of Palm Beach.
I did not know.
It's the village of Palm Beach. If she wins, she is President Trump's congresswoman. So, he's rooting for his own congresswoman, I guess. But we'll go through that to see, did he really do this? Did a staff member do it? Are they going to walk it back? What's the deal? I think it's legitimate. I think he saw that and said, hey.
I do too. I mean, the research I've done on it, it's like, yeah, it looks like it's a real thing, real deal. Yeah. But I'm not 100% sure. I'm like 90% sure. 95, So.
Yeah, well, we'll see. It's a developing story. The air right now. The air right now. Somebody's trying to get in touch with me right now. Give me a break,
come on.
We're on the air.
At 11 to 12 every day. How hard is
all the calls. But people are starting to realize, and again, we explained at 11:10 in the morning right now. We wanted to stabilize our unique studio away from the base studio, and everything's stabilized. And after the first of the year, we're going to have a big announcement. We're going to launch our campaign the second week in January, our campaign to mobilize 1,000,001 new evangelical voters. Very, very important, particularly in light of Andrew Gillum. And I just got an email from Andrew Gillum. I am on his
you're on his email list?
My buddy. He's my buddy.
Your BFFs? Okay.
All right, now, to start out our show today, Andrew Gillum is a former mayor of Tallahassee, which is the state capital. He's a very accomplished black fellow, and
graduate of the Rockwood Institute.
Well, a great education at FAMU, a very prestigious school in Florida. Was president of the student body at FAMU, and then was selected very quickly by the left, the hardcore left, to say, we got a future winner with Andrew Gillum. Then they start sending him to those various seminars and
Maoist training camps.
Yeah, training in leftist ideology.
The Maoism.
But not so much the ideology, because the ideology, which is from those who have to those who don't have, from everyone according to their ability, is the Marxist saying, to each of those according to their need. It sounds great. You have a particular need. Somebody has an ability. They need to compensate for your inability, for your lack of, for your need, by providing for you. Then both of you are equal and the world is utopia. That's essentially Marxism. And
basically giving the guy in the street corner who's begging for cash half of your money.
Yeah, or using the federal government securing the public tax money to help people of no interest in doing anything good for the country, gets off on all crazy things. It's biblical as a biblical Christian too. It's biblical to help someone who doesn't have something. But is it mandated by the government that a Christian has to help somebody? No. The whole concept of Jewish and Christian philanthropy is that it's self-motivated. Because of your relationship to God and the blessings you have received, you have to have, and you ought to have, particularly if you're a mature Christian or Jew, a legitimate internal concern for those who don't have what you have. And go look at the hospitals all over the West. St. Joseph, St. Mary, St. this, St. that. The Catholic Church, in one of its very positive developments, has built philanthropic and community-minded community service organizations all over the world. The Salvation Army. They're there to raise money to help other people in need, particularly people in addiction issues, all of that. But these are not government programs. These are motivated from Christian and Jewish charity. So to take that concept and say, well, we got it mandated by the government and you have to volunteer to help or you have to give your money, now you're going further than the Bible requires.
Right.
So to bathe all of your socialism like Pete Buttigieg, how do you say that guy's name? I mean, we have to get the correct pronunciation.
I just like Butt.
Mayor Butt, yeah, Mayor Butt. To have people like him in a false Christianity. He's a fake Christian, folks. How do I know? I'm a Christian theologian. And his articulation of Christian theology is unknown to me. And I know these things.
Listen,
okay?
I'm not even a theologian. I know it's wrong.
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, take the craziest extreme. Let's get a real neo-Nazi, David Duke. Okay.
All right.
I mean, that guy is a piece of garbage. All right. I get emails from him again. At least people get my email, right?
They love you, Tom.
Yeah. He is a piece of human garbage. And for him to say, oh, I'm a Christian, I have to laugh because everything he believes in is antithetical, completely opposite of Christian policy, Christian doctrine, and the teaching of Jesus Christ.
Nancy Pelosi, same way.
Nancy plays games with this, for sure. And I would have to look a little more deeply into her to see if she's a scam artist like Buttigieg.
I know.
Okay. All right. You convinced me.
No,
but I'm going to read you Andrew Gillum, who presents himself as a Christian. Lovely wife, lovely family. Like I said, and we know a lot about him because we followed him around.
Lovely husband. Is he the wife or the husband? I'm not real sure now. What is
Andrew Gillum?
Oh, well, I thought about Buttigieg.
Oh, no.
I thought I was confused.
No. Andrew's a man's man. He's a tough man.
Yeah.
And a lovely family, lovely kids, lovely wife. This is the more dangerous individual because he's not a whack nut out there. And he makes his points very well. He's got a problem.
What's his problem?
Andrew has a problem.
Uh-oh.
Tom, I love the way he addresses me, Tom, we saw the full toll of voter suppression and what it can do against progressive causes right here in Florida during the 2018 election.
Oh, so he was robbed.
Now,
Yeah, that's right. In Palm Beach County, his votes were suppressed. And
how did they get suppressed?
They didn't.
But he ran against Ron DeSantis.
Well, Stacey Abrams the same way. She got her votes got suppressed too.
That's what she says. She's still fighting that battle. Out of 8.5 million votes, Ron won by 30,000. So I'd be pissed too if I were Andrew. He's 15,000 people away from being oh my God, thank you. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Allah. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, everybody. That Gillum did not become. But you know what? Picture. See the hero ex-FBI agent who stopped the Texas church gunman. That's a little confusing because Jack Wilson, the shooter, wasn't. There must be. They said there were 2 shooters, but I only heard 3 total shots. So we're going to look into that.
Well, he shot twice and one. Yeah, unless they
the bad guy shot the sawed-off shotgun twice. And then Jack Wilson, the 71-year-old guy, drew his gun, one shot to the head, 50 feet, dropped the guy. An amazing shot. Very sad situation. But now there's breaking news that there was an ex-FBI agent there also that shot.
Well, they must have shot exactly at the same time.
Yeah, that's impossible. But we'll look into that for you. While I'm reading this, Mark could have our production team check on.
Yeah, I'll have my production team check on that.
Yeah, I think it's a Fox story. So I'm reading from Andrew Gillum, and I'm doing this because next week we're launching our campaign, which is directly against Andrew Gillum and his campaign. That's why we are paying money to have this show on the air, to counter what Andrew Gillum is doing. Listen to his words right now. Tom, we saw the full toll voter suppression against progressive causes right here in the Florida election 2018. Now we're seeing yet another attempt to silence progressive voices in 2020. How do we, I'm confused, but I'll continue reading. Within the past month, Wisconsin and Georgia got the green light to purge hundreds of thousands of voters from state records. And you can bet this is just the beginning. Pause. Okay? I see where he's going. He's saying voter suppression is purging names from the voter rolls.
Okay, that's a good thing. I'll talk about all the debt because our voter roll are totally screwed up.
Well, what's happening with the purging of the rolls? This is normal. It's done every few years. It should be done every year. But there are people that die, and no one removes their name from the voter rolls, and then some maybe unscrupulous people go check the dead voter rolls and then get a absentee ballot for someone who may exist, may not exist, and then sign it in the name of that person. It becomes one of the conditional ballots, but it could be read at some point and used. So to avoid all of that, you look at the death records and the voter records, and if the guy's dead, you take his name off. That's all. Or are dead people supposed to vote? I mean, how's that work? So, but where all of us should have concern on both sides is if the handwriting doesn't match the original signature on record, then they're being pulled off. But it's not just being pulled off. There's research being done. There's contact is issue. So there's a legitimate process. Could that process be compromised on either side? Of course. Is it necessary to purge voter names from voter rolls? Of course, because they're not voting anymore, or they have signed up irresponsibly or illegally. So this is a good thing. But for the left, it's a bad thing because they don't care how you got on there, just as long as the names are on there. He continues, we're making progress on health care. We're passing life-saving gun reform. We're tackling climate change. It all comes down to whether we're heard or not at the ballot box. That's why Bring It Home. That's the name of Andrew Gillum's campaign to register 1 million new progressive voters. That's why Bring It Home is fighting to make sure we're heard by registering, engaging, mobilizing as many progressive, socialist voters as possible across the Sunshine State before the 2020 election. Now, it really gets interesting. This is in bold. But, Tom, our vital efforts take serious resources, and right now we're still falling dangerously behind our final fundraising goal of the year with hardly any time left to close the gap. All right, that's normal. And you see Republican groups do the same. But here's the scary part, folks, and it's in yellow. It's highlighted. It's in bold, and it's highlighted in yellow. I'm reading at 11:22 in the morning. Tom Trento, your host, WWNN 1470. J. Mark in the control room. We're rocking and rolling on a beautiful rainy afternoon. Listen to the highlighted part of Andrew Gillum's plea for money. That's why this news is huge. Andrew says, what I'm going to tell you is huge news. A group of fired up donors have upped their offer and are now matching all gifts to us at 5 times.
What?
At 5 times.
Oh my God.
But only for the next 48 hours. So we have a sense of urgency up until the end of the year. And the donors, who are some of those donors, Mark?
Oh, well, it comes from the top, from Soros all the way down to Stephen Phillips, the other person from Progressive Insurance.
Peter Lewis,
Peter Lewis,
Michael Bloomberg,
Tom Steyer.
Tom Steyer, running for president.
Every leftist socialist donating person you can think of is dumping money here in Florida.
Well, they just told Andrew Gillum that go tell your people if they give $1, we'll match it to $5. If they give 1,000, we'll match it to 5,000. 5 times, and I don't.
I've never heard of that before. No, I 100%.
Because two things are happening here.
One thing they don't lie about is how much money they're being dumped into their coffers.
Yeah, and I don't doubt it, because it's the end of the year, and these very, very wealthy people need to, their accountant says, look, you got to dump $2 or $3 million.
Yeah.
If you donate it, it will help you save money in 2019. So they contacted Andrew and said, look, it's a win-win. Tell your folks whatever they donate, we're matching it 5 times. 5 times. I've never heard of matching 5 times.
We need to have someone do that for us.
Yeah. We run Fun Losers, and usually it's somebody donates $1, they go, well, we don't really have $1. We have about 80 cents, and we got to put the 20 cents in. And, now we have some very loyal donors, and we operate on virtually nothing. But this is the battle we're going against. But we have the truth on our side. This is going to be a Herculean battle to try to raise 1,000,001 evangelical voters against his 1,000,000. And part of that, I wrote a little letter over the weekend, short letter, and I want to read it to you. And it's the response to Andrew's email, which I just got. I didn't know what Andrew was going to send, but I wrote this and sent it out on Sunday morning. And it answers Andrew's letter just now. So listen up. As we approach the beginning of another year, no matter what, the title of my letter is Happy or Unhappy New Year 2020. Everybody, you say Happy New Year to everybody, but listen to what I say. As we approach the beginning of another year, no matter what happens on January 1st, 2020, the real measure of happiness occurs on Election Day, November 3rd, 2020. If President Trump loses and one of the Marxist Democrats wins, America is lost, plain and simple. The new progressive, Andrew just used that term, the new progressive socialist president will immediately reverse all of President Trump's executive orders that have resulted in less government regulation, more personal freedom, a stronger nation, a robust economy. Additionally, President Biden, Sanders, Warren, Buttigieg, God forbid, will appoint a new Supreme Court justice to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and then appoint hundreds of federal judges who will construct a socialist legal system for the next 40 years. Conservative Jews and Christians who believe in God will be under attack by radical leftists, LGBT activists, and jihadi Muslims. Without question, your personal wealth will decrease by 30% in the first 6 months of a new socialist regime. Take that to the bank. Oh, wait, the bank is where your money is going to be decreased. You better put your money in your mattress. I'm ad-libbing. Going back to my letter, the year 2020 will be the start of an intellectually and morally dark age. Remember the dark ages? We're going to go into the dark age of America, and America will quickly transition from a constitutional republic to a banana-like republic, to the pleasure of many sick people who suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. Rest assured, my team and I are fighting day and night and day, to defeat this onslaught of socialists, joining with anti-American Muslims in an effort to defeat President Trump, especially here in Florida, the number one battleground state in 2020. You just heard Andrew's letter, Andrew Gillum. We can fight damn well, but we need your fight. Now, here's my appeal. Damn well, but we need your financial help to enable us to operate at 100%. And the time all the time, right up to Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020. Our experienced team is battle-hardened, smart, fearless, and taking the fight to the enemy. And indeed, these anti-American forces are enemies of freedom and liberty. Then I have a couple of ways that you can donate. You can go to our website, And in fact, if you want to donate, go there. If you want to transfer stock, you can contact us through the website. That actually may save donors money. But nowhere on here, Mark, do I have, and by the way, somebody's matching it by one time or two times or three times.
I was going to volunteer to match it 5 to 1.
Oh, yeah, that'll work real well. That's a joke, if anyone didn't get that joke. Look.
I didn't say what I match it with. I didn't say I would match it with dollars.
Believe it or not, we both have root canals that need to get done, and we have to hold them off until we can generate more money. We should have like violin music. Help Tom get his root canal. Root canal, unbelievable. You know,
I know.
And my friends go, you could have done something with your life.
I know. I was actually thinking about that the other day.
You used to make a lot of money.
I used to make a lot of money. Being a Cisco network engineer, now I make nothing.
Yeah, they look at me and they go, you have all this, background and you're competent. You've run all these companies. You could be making a lot of money, I said, yeah. But I talked to somebody over the weekend.
God thing gets in the way, doesn't it?
Well, it's a calling. I talked to somebody over the weekend. They had called me up about something or other, and I wanted to know about a Trump rally, and I just started talking to them. And he knew nothing about me. I knew nothing about this person. So, I said, what do you do? He gave me a little background. And he says, what do you do? I said, well, we have an organization. It's a nonprofit educational organization, the United West. And we essentially fight the Marxists and the Muslim jihadis. And without stopping, he goes, I'm in, I'll help. What do you need? What kind of help do you need? I said, well, yeah, but we're taking some time off of chasing bad guys, and we're trying to educate Americans to make America think again, to vote intelligently. So on November 3rd, 2020, good Americans, particularly in Florida, vote for good candidates. Good means that the way you determine whether your vote is good or not is when you go into a polling place and you vote, just imagine in the booth is George Washington with you and Abraham Lincoln, okay? Two of our top presidents. And they're watching you. And if they go, are you freaking kidding me?
Really?
Yeah. Really?
Come on.
If they do that in your subconscious ear, then don't vote for whoever you're voting. If they go, way to go, Joe. Whoa, way to go.
There you go. Way to be thinking.
Dude, cool. Well, we're down with that. Then you're good. Very simple. That's how you vote. That makes America vote again. It's smart. So we should dress people up as.
All right. Yeah. This is your monitor. This is your voting monitor.
Yeah. Exactly. George Washington. So that's what we're all about. We're in a battle with the hardcore left. But you know what? We believe in that crazy story about Gideon in the battles he fought and David fighting Goliath. We believe that the underdog. Just look at the nation Israel. You want to talk about an underdog?
Just look at the Miami Dolphins beating the
Patriots. Look at the Miami Dolphins beating New England. I don't watch.
If you
football.
don't believe, yeah.
I don't watch football anymore because of that idiot Kaepernick.
Oh yeah.
I really don't. Too many people were doing that.
Right.
I'm a football player. I'm a football fan. I'm a former coach, flag leagues, all this stuff. I stopped watching pro ball. Though Clemson, way to go, Clemson. We got to give Clemson.
Got to give them
coming back.
Actually, Ohio State. I get hats off to those guys.
Oh, it was a great game.
Great game.
But when I saw New England lost to Miami, what is that all about?
What is that all about? And it wasn't like a nothing game either. It was like they both.
It was close. I saw it going back and forth.
No, but New England really needed to win that game. So
did Marino play or something?
Yeah, no, they dusted him off.
Yeah. So we're in this the battle, and starting in about 2 weeks when we launch this publicly, we've been talking about it. We're going to need to raise warm bodies. We need thousands and thousands and thousands of good Floridians to volunteer to do voter registration. That's our whole campaign, to get people to push aside for some time during the next 308 days, push aside sometime each week and say, you know what, I'm going to go help register voters. And that's all we're doing. We're looking for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people to do voter registration. You're going to contact us or one of the coalition members we're working with. We're going to tie you into a very sophisticated way in which this can be done in the neighborhood where you live. And voila! We celebrate on the 3rd of November, and that's a happy new year. Otherwise, I don't care what happens from the 1st to November 3rd. If Donald Trump loses, it's going to be an unhappy year and an unhappy 4 years. That's where all this is going. So
That's correct.
Yep. All right. Now, we want you to listen at 11:33 in the morning on the AM side of the dial 1470. That guy I talked to you about earlier who called me. I said, we also have a show. I said, you can, he's in South Florida. I said, you can go on. He goes, I'm on iHeart. I said, okay. Just look us up, WWNN 1470 on iHeart, South Florida. Boom. And hopefully he's listening today and every day. But we are in this battle for our lives, and you need to listen at 6 o'clock in the morning to Brian Craig and Steve Kane. As we've said many, many times, they were the first to get behind Donald Trump, and they do a tremendous show. They do a call-in show. We don't bring guests on too much, calling guests. We only have an hour, and we will open it up for guests, on occasion. They have 3 hours. Sometimes guests go all over the place, and you got to reel them back in and all of that. But they're great at doing that. They have great material. And so start listening to them if you're not already, 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Then you can take a nap for a little while because unless you want to hear about money stuff, then stay and listening to WWNN. And then at 11 o'clock, come back to life and you'll hear all the cultural, national security, all the crazy stuff we do.
And if you happen to miss the show, we go to theunitedwest.org and download our daily podcast that we throw up there.
Now, what you have to do when you go to theunitedwest.org to see the podcast, and we may change this in the future, but right now it's the same monotonous picture of me as on every podcast, but the title is different and the date is there. So make sure you look at the title and the date, and don't just hit like any one and thinking it's today's. You gotta actually read and look at it. All right, Mark, this Hanukkah attack in New York, really, really bizarre. I think anyone who is breathing knows about it at this point.
Well, I didn't know about it till this morning because I had a news blackout in my house. I just said no news.
You were embargoed for the weekend?
I was embargoed for the weekend, so I didn't hear about it till this morning.
Yeah, you had to be in a cave.
Well, I was watching football, same thing. So.
Yeah, basically Saturday night, lighting the seventh candle for Hanukkah. A black fellow who lives in Greenwood Lake area of New York, upstate, just above New Jersey. Greenwood Lake's an interesting city. There's a Greenwood Lake, New Jersey, and then you go right over the New York border and Greenwood Lake, New York. I guess the statute of limitations has run out, but you were able to drink when you were 18 years old in New York.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe some of us in New Jersey drove to Greenwood Lake and went across the border and
when you were 18.
When we were 18 and would drink in Greenwood Lake.
Legally. Right?
And legally. And then drive back, though I could say from day one, I was always the designated driver from the time I started driving. I don't let people drive me around now, rarely, but I would never let anybody, even possibly who was drinking, drive me. Just, it's crazy. I mean, you can get in an accident in a millimeter, a microsecond with all the dynamics of cars moving and weather and bad tourists and all that. How would you put your life in the hands of somebody who's drinking alcohol? Completely crazy. And you shouldn't be driving if you're drinking, So that's my PSA for the day. But this guy lives 30, 40 miles away from the home of the rabbi that he selected. So intelligence gathering task number one. Why did he target that house? And that information isn't available at this point. Initially, you would think Jews get attacked with a machete. That's indicative of what?
Mormonism.
Yeah, Mormonism. Those wild Mormons and their machetes. That is textbook Islamic jihad. It's historic. Muhammad used a sword to fight and slay and destroy the enemy, and it's been used for 1,400 years. It's been used extensively to kill Jews and Christians who are the enemies at different times. And we have all the publications of Al Qaeda and the Islamic State, their book Dabiqs, and these methods are actually taught. They show you how to stab and kill someone with
just like Muhammad did.
Yeah. They show you how to take a large truck and run people over. And we have their documents. We have their material. It was public access for a long time. So the initial analysis is, okay, Muslim attack. As the case has developed, it does not look like that to me. I am getting emails from people saying, oh, this guy, Grafton Thomas, oh, he converted to Islam. I don't see any indication of that. It's too soon for me to conclude this was Islamic. I don't see anything. His pastor, a woman, who seems to be very legitimate, very real, gone on very quickly and said he's a mental case. He's a nutcase. He's been in and out of mental hospitals, and he's really a dear man.
Oh, so he is Muslim.
That's not nice. And she seems very legitimate. Again, all of this just, open source stuff. So what do we have here? Well, if you put it in the mental disorder category, this is a catch-all for ignoring and not assuming full responsibility for an act. Somebody can be mentally sick and still be fully aware and competent in an action that they do. Does this guy have a regular job? Did he function? Could he live on his own? Was he under medication? What type? There's a lot of information here that needs to come out to determine if he is morally culpable, intellectually culpable, and legally culpable for this horrendous act, which could have been a lot worse. He rushes into the rabbi's house, starts slicing a bunch of people. They're throwing chairs at him and all this. They scatter. 5 or 6 of them got chopped up badly. One of them, serious concussion. And then they went into the synagogue attached and barricaded the door. He couldn't get in, and then he takes off. Someone was astute and alert enough, this is in a Jewish neighborhood, to get the license plate, and then ironically, on his way back to where he lives in New Jersey, he went over the GW Bridge, which I've been over 1,000,000 times, the George Washington Bridge, which is in the northern part of New York and New Jersey, below the TZ Bridge, Tappan Zee Bridge. He goes over the GW Bridge, heading back into his area, and the GW Bridge has a license plate reading capability. The alert went out. This is tremendous law enforcement work. The alert went out looking for this license plate. Boom! It triggers on the GW Bridge system, and now they know where the guy lives. They go to his. They set out a bolo to be on the lookout, and they find the guy and pull him over and grab him, throw him in, arraign him, put on the white suit. You may have seen the very white suit that he had on, like a jumpsuit. And people are going, why has he got a white jumpsuit on? You have any? You know why, Mark?
Mental institution? I have no idea. Or he came in as a painter or something?
It's very interesting. Back in 1986, Tom Trento, 11:42 in the morning on WWNN 1470. You're listening. Thank you for tuning in. Start telling your friends about it. We've got a whole variety of stuff today and tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, we have a special New Year's Day show. We're going to give you the history of what New Year's is all about, where it came from, and who celebrates it. And for the longest part of Western civilization, It was celebrated in March. Did you know that? March was the new year. But then somebody said, you know what? Let's make it January. And things got turned around. We'll tell you that story. Very fascinating. And then we'll have some fun with some other New Year's Day stuff. That's New Year's Day.
And how Islam brought in the new year.
It's what?
And how Islam is responsible for the new year.
Yeah, that's right. They have a little different calendar. But what was I talking about? I don't
know. You went off on a tangent.
Yeah, the white suits.
White suit.
In 1986, I was asked to debate Madalyn Mary O'Hair. And Madalyn Mary O'Hair was the head of the American Atheist Association.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And she was the one with her son, John Mary. She was responsible in 1962 or 3 of filing a Supreme Court case, filing a lawsuit that went to the Supreme Court that resulted in the Supreme Court taking prayer out of the schools, taking Bible reading out of the schools. Before that time, public schools, in the context of this country being founded on Christian principles, would start the day, every public school in the United States started the day with a Pledge of Allegiance, and then someone would read out of the Bible, usually Psalm 23 or one of those Psalms. And you started the day pledging your allegiance to the country and your faith in God.
The first book that was ever published by the United States was the Bible and given out to schools. And when they first came out, that the government handed Bibles to schools and said, you must teach out of this book.
The history of public education flows out of Christian education. It's an amazing story. But Madalyn Mary O'Hair was the one who was an atheist, and one person, had that whole thing thrown out. And then now you're not allowed to have any group prayer or anything like that during the course of the school day, only except if a shooter comes in and everybody's hiding in a room, and the liberal leftist teacher, who was so happy that you can throw prayer out, now tells all our kids, okay, we better start praying, folks. What kind of hypocrisy is that? Oh, but that's another show. We'll talk about that in a minute. Back to the
white suit.
The white suit. So the debate was to take place on Easter Sunday in Denver, Colorado. The atheists had their national convention on Easter Sunday in Denver, where I live. Right.
Okay.
So she agreed to debate me, and preceding the debate, there was a big rally by the atheists on the Capitol steps of the Capitol building in downtown Denver. And she was dressed all in white. It was kind of weird, right? I found out subsequently, after getting arrested, whole nother story.
In and of itself.
I did. I got arrested at that thing, and it was one of I'm a pro law enforcement guy. I got improperly arrested, illegally arrested, and eventually was thrown out. It was nonsense. They were trying to accuse me of starting a riot. I was watching what happened,
right,
as this fight broke out. But I was a high-profile activist.
Tom, wherever you are, there's a riot. That's the problem.
But in any event, she was dressed in white because the FBI had gotten word there could be an attempt on her life, and they wanted to see the entry of the bullet in order to start providing first response medical care. Where if she's shot, if she's down, where is it?
So they called her up and said you got to wear white. So
they made her put a white deal on. And if you notice, the Grafton Thomas, the slayer, no one died yet as of right now, 11:47, at the synagogue in the rabbi's house. But he was dressed in white. He's a big guy, but you can see he had a bulletproof vest underneath. And they dress you in white because, like Jack Oswald walked up to Lee Harvey Oswald walked up to
Jack
Ruby and shot him right in the side. If there's a long shot at this guy, they want to be able to see where the bullet went in and start treating him very, very quickly.
Okay.
That's what the whole white thing is all about. So
they make you wear white during the debate?
No, the debate never happened because she backed out, as they always do. And then her son was going to debate me, and he backed out. And then I wound up debating the local head of the atheist thing, and it was a joke. Yeah, it was a joke. So,
well, what I really found shocking about the New York machete attack is now CNN is actually calling, well, you know what? I think we should maybe have guns in synagogues. It's just like, what? Did the world just start spinning the other way? Yeah.
The juxtaposition of this attack Saturday with the church attack on Sunday, where the people in church were armed with guns, is mind-blowing. It's astonishing. And right now, if you're in Israel, every synagogue, every Jewish school, every
street corner has a gun on it.
Well, first of all, everybody's in the military.
Yeah.
So if you're out, you're still on reserve, and so you're asked to be armed at these places, and you're asked to be on the lookout because it's a dangerous neighborhood, and it's getting that way. Now, here, a couple of observations from this Hanukkah attack. Number one, most likely this guy is a mental case, which doesn't exonerate him morally or legally. And I mean, the shooter of President Reagan, John Hinckley, man, I'm pulling these names out of it. That was 1983. John Hinckley shot the president at the Washington Capitol Hilton.
We actually been there.
We've been there many times, yeah. And he was pled to be a nutcase, and he did like 35 years in prison. He is out now. He's walking the street because he was in mental institutions, and all the experts say he's healed, he's okay. God, hopefully. But we're going to see what happens to Grafton Thomas, the hacker. But a couple of observations. So we don't know if this is a jihadi attack. Most likely not. I don't really see this. There's no internet indication. There's no yelling at jihad. There's nothing. And would we know? Of course we would know. We came under a jihadi attack in Texas in May of 2015. So we know exactly what takes place. We've seen them. We've researched them. We've been to Orlando after that attack. We've been up to the Boston one. We've been in several of them in Israel. We've researched the California ones. We understand.
We got crime tape from many different.
We got crime tape
from Israel.
It's kind of a macabre.
It's macabre kind of a thing that we have.
But we collect crime tape from all these various attacks. They're to motivate and keep have us understand the threat is constantly with us. So point number one, I don't think this is a jihadi attack. Point number two, is it racial? Is it the point where the black community, because there's increased attacks from the black community against Jewish people. And there has been a history of blacks hating Jews in America. Is this a resurgence of that? Or is it, as is being floated by many on the left, Donald Trump's fault? Did Donald Trump
absolutely
cause this because
100%.
his white nationalistic racist comments
there you go, Tom.
has mobilized people to attack Jews?
That's the reason.
Can you help me with that, Mark?
Yeah, 100%. I'm in agreement with that. It's all Donald Trump's fault. In fact, if he could, he would have given the guy a gun so he could go in there more efficiently, but he didn't. But he did motivate him to do all this stuff, obviously.
Now, look, we understand politics, and we understand that if you can take a shot at when you have Trump derangement syndrome, and you live and you breathe every moment of every day to take a shot at Donald Trump because he's driving you crazy. Not only does his character drive you crazy, not only does his financial success, not only that, and I'm thinking of Swalwell, because he came out against Trump, saying that Trump's racist comments has contributed to this. You want to be a successful politician. You're viewed as a nitwit by your own party and by everyone else around. And this guy never ran for any office. He's not a lawyer. He's done nothing political. He's the president. He's your president driving you crazy.
Yep.
Now, you would be very happy if he was an unsuccessful president. But everything he touches, whether it's the economy, national security, social issues, the appointment of judges, successful by the perspective of Washington and Lincoln, not friends of yours. So his policies and his productive presidency is driving you crazy. We understand if there's a little opening, we can blame him for a black guy slicing up Jews in a synagogue. You take a shot for it. You go for it.
Right.
But what does that say about you, Mr. Swalwell?
Yeah, well, the same thing was said back in 1956.
Isn't that amazing? We have time for that?
Yeah,
we do.
We have no time for that.
1958.
56, yeah. Or
56?
58.
1958. Guy by the name of Robert Welch, who was a very influential, successful businessman. He eventually founded a group called the John Birch Society. Some people think, there was a great organization. Some think it was a crazy right-wing organization. Truth is somewhere in between. But Welch in 1958 gave a speech, and we want you to listen to this speech and the points he makes.
2 minutes and 20 seconds.
And
I want to play the whole thing.
It's very important. He's comparing, and now this is coming right out after World War II, where many people, our dear friend Diana West has written extensively on this,
right,
that there was a communist infiltration in America, and he's saying, hey, there's an infiltration, but we're now saying that there's an infiltration of the Marxists in the state of Florida, in the country, in the Democrat Party. Listen to these very important words in 1958 by Robert Welch.
A part of that plan, of course, is to induce the gradual surrender of American sovereignty, piece by piece and step by step, to various international organizations, of which the United Nations is the outstanding but far from the only example. Now, here are the aims for the United States. 1, greatly expanded government spending for every conceivable means of getting rid of ever larger sums of American money as wastefully as possible.
It's 1958.
2, higher and then much higher taxes. 3, an increasingly unbalanced budget despite the higher taxes. 4, wild inflation of our currency. 5, government controls of prices, wages, and materials, supposedly to combat inflation. 6, greatly increased socialistic controls over every operation of our economy and every activity of our daily life.
Sanders, Warren, Bush.
To be accompanied, naturally and automatically, by a correspondingly huge increase in the size of our bureaucracy and in both the cost and reach of our domestic government. 7, far more centralization of power in Washington and the practical
60 years ago,
of our state lines. There is a many-faceted
And the blurring of state
drive
lines.
No
to
more.
have our state lines eventually mean no more within the nation than our county lines do now within the states. 8, the steady advance of federal aid to and control over our educational
This is
system,
amazing.
leading to complete federalization of our public education.
I know.
9, a constant hammering into the American consciousness of the horror of modern warfare, the beauties and the absolute necessity of peace. Peace always on communist terms, of course. And 10, the consequent willingness of the American people to allow the steps of appeasement by our government, which amount to a piecemeal surrender of the rest of the free world.
Unbelievable. 60 years ago.
He was 10 for 10.
I mean, yeah, there's a couple of them the Republicans. I was involved in 94 with the 104th Congress. I ran one of the congressional races in California, and my guy almost won, but Newt Gingrich, there was an effort for a balanced budget, but the Republicans have been somewhat guilty on the balanced budget issue. But you take 8 or 9 of those.
Somewhat guilty, Tom?
This guy, I mean, right on. Now, we played that to tell you there's nothing new under the sun, folks. The same political philosophy is being argued for today between the Republican Party and the Democrat Party. And the Democrat Party listens to those 10 principles and says, yeah, man, way to go. That's the country we need.
Yep.
That's what we're fighting against. And we believe George Washington and Abraham Lincoln would be right here with us saying, we don't want a gigantic government. We don't want heavy taxes. We don't want the government telling you what your kids need to learn. We don't want, that's crazy. Whose idea is this? What happened to our country? What's going on? Yeah. Well, we'll have to continue some of this tomorrow. We got a couple of minutes left here. What do you got planned for New Year's, Mark? Anything?
No, just watch a football game. Like I have a great football game. I'll get the Gators, the Gators tonight, and you have all the bowl games, and so.
All right. Well, I'll watch college football, but tomorrow we will hit the church shooting, and we're going to get more information because we don't know the shooter's name at this point. The gender math I'll save for tomorrow. Obama's money tomorrow. Arguing with idiots. We got a whole week's worth of it. Hey, tune in, folks. We'll see you on Tuesday.